Welcome back. Now, lupus occurs when the immune system, which normally helps protect the body from infection and disease, attacks its own tissues. The month of May is Lupus Awareness Month, and in studio now we're joined by Winnie Katataiza, who has lupus. She now joins us this evening to talk to us about her journey and more. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
To start with, I want to talk about your journey with lupus. Perhaps briefly, you can talk to us about what that has been and also the earliest signs that you discovered that led to your diagnosis.
Okay, I was diagnosed in 2014, but I can say that I've been sick for almost 11 years prior to that. And I had seizures since grade 10. But anyway, moving forward, 2013, I was pregnant and I used to have seizures all the time. But then I wasn't diagnosed that either. And then, so 2014, around September, October, I started swelling, my legs would be swollen, my face would be swollen. But then I wasn't in pain, so why should I go to the doctor?
Right.
Yeah, so, but then it got so bad that I couldn't walk properly. So my colleague is like, just go to the doctor. So one of the tests that they did is to take a urine sample, and it showed that I have a lot of, my kidneys are leaking a lot of protein. So it's one of the early signs of lupus nephritis as well. So after that, I went for blood test and kidney biopsy, and eventually I was diagnosed with lupus. I remember at the time I had Dr. Gordon Cubito as my doctor, and he's like, ma'am, I'm sorry, but you have lupus. And I'm like, yes. And he's like, but it's not a nice thing. I'm like, at least now we know what's wrong with me.
Right.
So after that, it has been a journey, you know, up and down. At some point, the medication were not working, so I had to go for chemotherapy. So it was a whole trial and error thing now. So, but now I can say I'm good.
Would it have made a difference? Sorry to interject. So you said it was 11 years that you'd been sick, but you didn't know what it was. Would it have made a difference knowing earlier what it was? Would, treatment have helped change anything if it was, picked up a bit earlier?
I think so, because imagine you're a 15-year-old girl who is having seizures, and when everybody's going up the stairs, I was coming down. And so emotionally that also played with me, and even the confidence that I would have. I'm a loud person, but internally it's a thing of, am I good enough? Will I find a boyfriend one day? Yes, so I think it would have made a difference, but I wouldn't know really.
Not necessarily in terms of your health specifically, but your overall well-being emotionally, mentally.
Yes, I think it would have.
You mentioned quite a lot of side effects there. So inflammation is one, affecting the skin, the joints, heart, lungs, kidneys, blood circulation, all of that. And of course, you mentioned the emotional impact that it had with you. I want to talk about that a little bit more, about, the emotional impact that it had on you living with this disease.
So I think I'll start with the physical first, because it affects like the joints, like you said, it affects your skin, it affects everything basically. So emotionally, it's draining. And one of the things about lupus is you are in constant pain. And I don't think anybody who's in constant pain will go without being stressed about it, being depressed about it. So emotionally it's there. Me personally, I go see psychologists and I see psychiatrists when I can manage. And some of the medication also cause depression in the long run. So there is no way. And also socially, imagine if you were the social butterfly, but now you can't go out. You can't play the sports that you used to play. Financially, it's draining. So definitely you'll be depressed. So the emotional impact, because I feel if you manage the emotions, I think living with lupus becomes a little bit easier.
That makes sense, yes.
Yeah. So if the mind is fine, the body responds to that.
Yeah,
not 100%, but I think it's better.
How aware are Namibians, concerning lupus, around lupus? I think it's not one of the more common diseases.
It's not actually, and it's very difficult to diagnose. So one thing a lot of questions that I get: does she have cancer? Does she have that? You know, you said she went for chemotherapy.
right.
And it's not that. And the fact that it's difficult to diagnose, and one thing I've realized also, a lot of GPs also don't know how to diagnose this, because you go today, you have the symptoms, you get treated, but then you go back again and you're just sick. And most of the time when you get diagnosis, when you're really ill. So I feel, I feel we don't know that much about lupus. Yeah.
In honor of the month of May being Lupus Awareness Month, what would you like to say to the general public concerning lupus, whether it's individuals living with the disease, whether it's a family member that's taken up the role of a caretaker? What is your message to them?
To my lupus warriors, you guys are strong. And like I mentioned earlier, when it gets difficult, seek help mentally. Find somebody that you can talk to. I know we can all afford psychiatrists and things like that. There is no shame in it. I love my psychiatrist and psychologist. That's why I'm sitting here right now. So there is no shame in that. There is no shame in talking to someone about what you're going through. And to the caretakers, and I feel everybody that lives with somebody with lupus, educate yourself about it, because it's very difficult. Me as a patient, me as a person living with lupus, sometimes I also don't understand what's going on with my body. And a lot of times I've experienced it. You know, just stand up, you know, you can do this. Drink water, jog, like my knees are inflamed, I can't move, go jog, you lazy. You know, we have all this advice without actually researching on what is lupus. So I would like to advise the caretakers and the people out there, be sensitive. Be sensitive with any person living with a chronic disease. Be sensitive to it. And I hope and I urge the Namibian nation that when we do have fundraising events, that you guys will come forward so that we can raise awareness on this. Maybe people will be diagnosed earlier. Maybe we'll have enough medications in our hospital, because that's what we also struggle with. And lupus is very expensive. Yeah, so
that's your message.
Yeah, that's my message.
Winnie, thank you so much for being here this evening. It was lovely meeting you and lovely speaking to you.
Thank you, Nina.
That was Winnie Katataiza speaking to us there, a young Namibian lady bringing awareness to lupus. The month of May is considered Lupus Awareness Month.